Making It Personal with Bishop William Johnson on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Johnson. I'm Kelly Messer-Collins with the Diocese of Des Moines. On today's show, we're talking about the new movie Father Stu, which tells the true story of Father Stuart Long, played by Mark Wahlberg. Our guest today is Father Bart Tolleson, a friend of Father Stu's. They're even ordained together. Father Bart currently works in the Diocese of Helena, and we'll talk to him later. But before we get to today's interview, let's find out what's on the Bishop's mind.
Well, this is kind of a signal day for many of these days, but in the Diocese of Des Moines, we're celebrating the Chrism Mass later this afternoon, Kelly, 5 p.m. at St. Ambrose Cathedral, open to the public. You know, last year we were in Imogene at St. Patrick's, so kind of a movable feast, if you will, but it's a great renewal for priests of their priestly commitment and promises, but also the renewal of that great treasury of graces given to us through the sacraments, with the consecration of the sacred chrism, which will be used at the Easter Vigil for sacraments of baptism and confirmation and ordination. And we're grateful that we'll have 3 men ordained to the priesthood this year, 1 man to the transitional diaconate, and 6 men to the permanent diaconate in July 16th. But it's just a chance, and again, the oil of the sick and the infirm and the oil of catechumens. So I think it's going to be a beautiful liturgy. It's just a chance for fraternity as well among not just the clergy, but the people of God. So it's a great humbling privilege for me as a bishop to preside at that liturgy and to offer that up. So in the way, it was a great week. Monday night, we were with the Knights of Columbus, Kansas City KC. Oh, it's been a whirlwind. Oh boy, are my arms tired. But we spoke about divine mercy, and that was the theme that he had proposed to me. And so just kind of unfolding that great covenant that God has for us of the mercy of Jesus, the kind of pre-resurrection meditation, and obviously the Sunday, Divine Mercy Sunday that we're there. But I appreciate the hospitality of all of them, and that's always a great moment for me. And then also looking forward to Palm Sunday, Passion Sunday this weekend, again at the cathedral, and to be able to celebrate with people. Saturday morning, then the 9th, there's an Iowa Interfaith Conference that Drake University is hosting, and I think it's always something for us as Catholics to look beyond our own walls, to be able to engage in honest dialogue and see points of commonality that we had. Our guest last week, Professor Camosi, kind of talked about how our Catholic ethic is, portable, and I think this is a moment for us to just truly listen. Our brother Christians are also Jewish and Muslim folks, and so some of the speakers there, I think it's very much in the season. You know, we think about that drama of the Passion account itself. Obviously, Jewish people were, very much imminent to that, but I think there were others who were looking on. You know, Jerusalem was a kind of cosmopolitan city, and so Des Moines becoming ever more so, really, in how people are coming to us who immigrate, and so I think we need to be ever more attuned and aware of those who are brothers and sisters, the mosque in our midst, and all there. And then last night, kind of hosting for myself, it's something I've been really involved with almost since I became bishop in Des Moines, the Biking for Babies organization, and I'm a board member there thanks to the invitation of Jimmy Becker, but Nikki Beese, our executive director, really trying to promote advocacy and to almost mobilize young people, college and beyond, as apostles of life, and what better combination to mingle bicycling and the advocacy for pregnancy resource centers. So we're into a new season, and there'll be a local ride the day actually after our priesthood ordination, June 25th. Probably a little more to say about that on a future show. But just, again, not only the prayers, the material support, but the awareness of, these are places where we are putting our money where our mouth is, and the pregnancy resources, which are not exclusively Catholic, but I think of people of goodwill, and again, trying to accompany and walk with moms and others and families. So if the Dobbs decision, the Supreme Court in June were to strike down some of the advocacy for the legalization of abortion, we have to really show how we are already at the forefront of concern and care beyond birth for our children.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll talk about Father Stu.
This Easter holiday, see the movie based on the inspiring true story.
Figured it out.
I'm going to be a priest.
for Halloween.
of Father Stu.
No one wants to hear the gospel from the mouth of a gangster.
Academy Award nominee Mark Wahlberg.
Maybe that's exactly what they need.
And Academy Award winner Mel Gibson.
Man don't lose when he gets knocked down, but when he won't get up.
God ain't giving up on you. Don't you dare go giving up on yourself.
When the man comes around. Father Stu, exclusively in movie theaters April 13. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by the Knights of Columbus, Foreman and Pfeiffer Agencies, specializing in life insurance, long-term care insurance, disability income insurance, and retirement annuities. Are you looking for a career? We are in search of men with an entrepreneurial spirit and a strong desire to live Catholic values. Knights of Columbus is seeking field agents to serve throughout the state of Iowa. Visit kofc.org/careers. The Knights of Columbus need you now, and one day you might need the Knights. That's kofc.org/careers to learn more.
Welcome back. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Johnson. On today's show, we're talking about the new movie Father Stu, which tells the true story of Father Stuart Long. Our guest today is Father Bart Tolleson, a friend of Father Stu's. They were even ordained together. Father Bart currently serves as administrator of St. Thomas in Helmville with St. Jude Mission in Lincoln. He also serves as the associate chaplain at Carroll College and is assigned as the priest assistant to the bishop for special projects and events.
Well, that last title is kind of intriguing, you know, that obviously a valued member of the presbyterate there. But welcome, Father Tolleson. Thank you for making time with us here and making it personal. And we're going to be very interested in Father Stu, the movie that comes out during Holy Week. It'll be released. And Mark Wahlberg here in Des Moines a few weeks ago. And obviously some of us have had a preview of that. But your story, too, is an intriguing one. I think every vocational story. But, you know, rolling through the Texas and chance for further education. You know, we won't call you Dr. Tolleson, but that was a previous identity that you had.
That was.
Yeah. What was the draw to communication that you did earlier in your studies?
You know, I was growing up Protestant. I had a lot of religion classes I had in private school and then in my undergrad. And so I just wanted to do something that didn't have to do with religion. And my English wasn't always the best, and I thought communication was good. I loved movies always as a kid, so it was just kind of a natural way to go, and I just loved the field.
And did you work in the field then for a while, or were you?
Well, just a little bit. So I mean, pretty much I became Catholic as I was getting my PhD. So when I was doing that, you know, I was teaching and doing things like that, and pretty quickly you kind of move from that on into getting serious about being a priest. But I was definitely teaching before I entered the seminary.
So, you know,
different ways,
different paths. When we think about how God speaks to people, was it an intellectual conversion, or was it something else that really kind of catalyzes for you to want to become Catholic? You know,
to try to sum that up as simply as I can is, I think I love growing up as I did. There were many people who loved God, practiced the faith so well, but interiorly I had these questions that no Protestant minister could ever answer satisfactorily to me. And it wasn't until I had a Catholic professor when I was working on my PhD that I began to attend Catholic Mass and began to realize that the Catholic Church, had answers to my questions. And that was very intriguing to me, and God just really opened my heart and called me there.
So received at the Easter Vigil, 1994. We think about the number of people who will be received in all universally in the Universal Church next week with a Holy Saturday, and privileged at St. Ambrose Cathedral. We'll have 22 people who are going to enter the church. So it's tremendous from the refugee population and others. So it's exciting for us. So it wasn't long after that, I understand, that the tug on your heart toward priesthood itself, and so entering at St. Mary in Houston. And so not unlike Father Stu a little bit, that becoming Catholic and then the priesthood were not necessarily immediate, but there was a close association temporally on that. Is that fair to say?
I think so. Stu had this experience when he was baptized, that when he came up out of the waters, that he had this idea he was going to be a priest, and it wouldn't ever go away. He tried to kind of run away from it for a few years, but it would never go away. And for me, when I became Catholic, some of the first words were, everyone was saying you should be a priest, and I was like, no way. I had no desire whatsoever.
I think he doth protest too much here.
Yeah. I tell people, don't ever tell God what you won't do. That's exactly what you'll be doing. And one thing I think that Stu and I, the reason I think we hit it off pretty quickly is we were both converts. We actually became Catholic on the same day. And it was, there was coming that path, we kind of drew us together, and we had kind of similar views on things.
Wow, but you didn't know each other at the time, is that right? I mean, but it...
Not when we became Catholic. No, we didn't know each other until I became a seminarian for Helena, because he was already in seminary for Helena.
Wow. So the very same day, God's ways, providence. So, and then ordained priesthood the same day as well. So, for you, Texas at first, St. Mary's Seminary, but Diocese of Dallas. And I'm trying to remember the bishop's name. Kevin, oh my goodness, is it the bishop who then became head?
When I was there, it was Bishop Grauman.
All right, very good.
And now in Dallas, it's Bishop Burns.
Right, right, yeah. So why Helena? What draws you to the Big Sky country?
Yeah, so my sister, I have one sibling, and she got married and moved to Montana in 1991. So I would make a yearly trek from wherever I was, usually in Texas, up to visit Montana. Really fell in love with the place. And when she started having children, my parents bought a place in Montana, so they kind of split some time between Texas and Montana. And I just had this desire to be closer to family there. I love Montana. I remember my brother-in-law sat me down and said, I think they need priests up here. You ought to think about coming up here to live. And I think that kind of spoke into my heart, and began to discern that with my spiritual director in seminary, and the doors just kind of opened up for me to go. God just said, yeah, go. So, and I love it up here in Montana. I mean, I love Texas too. In some ways, I'm a native Texan, but I love Montana.
That's always, and having been in formation myself, and I always tried to be detached when men were either thinking affiliating with the diocese or thinking about, departing for another diocese. So it's not necessarily tied to geography, but, for you, family was obviously one of the things that opened the door for that for you. So I'll be very honest with you, Father Tolleson, Father Bart. I've been resisting the temptation to get out my voodoo doll and stick pins of Bishop Vetter and Helena, because we are bestowing upon you a native Montanan, but she's been such a jewel for us. Alex Kautsky, the head of the St. Thomas More executive director and Catholic Youth Camp, and she's done so much to draw that and revitalize and animate it as a really a center for youth. But she's felt the tug, she and her husband, and discern. And so come August 1st, she'll be the director of the Office of Marriage and Family Life of the Diocese of Helena. So take special care of her. She's somebody very dear to us.
Don't worry. I taught Alex in high school. I don't know if you know that or not.
I did not.
So I've got some goods on Alex.
All right. Well, yeah, in case she gets out of line a little bit.
So no, we're happy to have her. She's she's amazing, and her family. So it's just like you said, it's a great bonus for us to have her back. We're thrilled.
And then just one more local angle before we turn to finally talk more about Father Stu. But one of our focus missionaries, actually an alum of Loras College, where I was for a number of years, Charles Putbreeze is one of the focus missionaries at Carroll College, where you have a hand. Is that right?
That's right, Chuck. So.
Yes,
that's great. I see Chuck, regularly, and all the focus missionaries are doing great work at Carroll. It's been great to have them there, and they just kind of fill in gaps where there were some gaps in ministry, and do a great job with our students.
Okay, so that's one aspect of your ministry, but perhaps oversight too. So, Father Stu, you find yourself in seminary together. Was it a kind of immediate rapport, or was that something that evolved?
I think so. Stu was in Oregon, and then Bishop Thomas, when I came in as a seminarian for Helena, he just left me in Houston where I was studying. So we were in two different seminaries, but the summer of 2006, we met face-to-face, and I think, honestly, we hit it off pretty quickly. I think part of it was we were both converts. We were about the same age, and, we had very similar senses of humor. We laughed a lot together. It was fun to be with Stu. We just had a good time together.
I mean, And as the movie unfolds, certainly a colorful life for Father Stu, boxing, very, great prowess there. Then the excursion to Hollywood, can he make it as an actor or not? Falling in love and things, and yet this tug to priesthood. And so, the good Benedictines at Mount Angel, part of his formation too. We won't see if there's much of a color. You've given us a little glimpse of your life, but was he a character? Was he a character around, just to be in any room with him?
Oh, I think he was a character. I mean, part of it was his sense of humor because, he was gruff and he was rough around the edges, and he knew it too. And so he would sometimes have a whole room laughing, and he would sometimes tell a joke, and everyone would have their mouths open, just like, did you just say that? And sometimes he would crack a cornball joke that he would just laugh at himself, and no one would even laugh. And I just thought it was hysterical. So anyway, he was a character. He was also tough, and he just went right after people, whoever they were, particularly in the latter years of his ministry. He just had no fear. It's just like, I got limited time, so I might as well just come straight at you with what I think. And it was good. People received that well.
So that kind of freedom and that lack of guile that he had, was that something you think was always there, or was it both the motorcycle accident that he suffered and then the illness that he had, the inclusion body myositis, the autoimmune disorder? Do you think that kind of catapulted him into that way of being, or can you comment on that trajectory?
No, I would. Stu was a football player, a wrestler, and then eventually he took up boxing, tried to be a professional boxer, didn't work out because of an injury. So he always had that kind of personality, that tough personality. He was also, Stu, you talk to people that knew him in high school even, people think he was just this incredible tough guy, and he was, but he was also nice to a lot of people. He was generous, he did kind things for people. And I think, that didn't change. That Stu Long was that Stu Long. Sometimes he would pick a fight with you at just an argument, and he liked to spar verbally with people too. But I think with the motorcycle accident, he received a humbling physically. And all of a sudden he was open to things about faith in God that even at Carroll College, he just kind of laughed at the religion classes he took. He thought it was kind of a joke. And God opened his heart through that, and eventually taught him to accept humility. It was really the virtue of humility was the virtue that made Stu as great as he was, because when his body was broken, his spirit got stronger, and that's where God really took to life in his soul. It was just amazing to watch. But he was still the same guy. It wasn't like he became a completely different person.
Religion or faith did not denature him, but it just kind of brought it all together, and it hung together in a way, as you say.
I think so. And he strove to do things in a holy way, as much as he could. So.
Was he, you speak of him being a kind and gentlemanly guy. Was he a ladies' man? Was he a charmer? That's kind of a little bit what you see, movies are movies, and, Mark Wahlberg has a certain take on things in the movie. But
if you see some of Stu's headshots when he was trying to be an actor, he was a good-looking guy, and I know he was a ladies' man. He said once that initially he was a little shy around girls, but as he got older, certainly the girls liked him, and he liked girls. And even after he became a priest, he was very dedicated, but there were still plenty of women that he, helped him and he got to be friends with. And it was a good kind of healthy sort of thing.
Yeah. The mark of any healthy priesthood, right? The ability to have friendships with women and men and relate to them. I think about a former student of mine who was a quarterback type at the college, and, he was talking, and he was, toying with the idea of priesthood. He just said, gee, women are scary. So I think, that sense of the mystique and the mystery that's part of that. That really doesn't tell us much about his period where he, in the movie, Father Stu, and again, much to commend the movie. But we got to caution people a little bit, and Mark Wahlberg spoke about this when he appeared at the Ron Pearson Center. It's a little salty, and they could have probably gone for the PG, but, the R both reflects some of the language and everything else. Again, is that true to life, or is that just, a producer's decision that how you're going to garner a broader audience?
I just think they wanted to make Stu a real person, and he was a gritty guy, and language really didn't mean too much to him, before his conversion, and that's who he was. So why try to dial it down or something? Because if this guy can be redeemed, can be converted, anybody can be redeemed and converted. I mean, that's the good news. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not depicted as that period out in New York and then some other parts. Were you familiar with that, or is that something you can comment on and maybe expand the light of awareness for us?
Yeah. The film had to kind of synthesize some things because they just had limited time. So, but in real life, Stu, when he heard Father Benedict Groeschel speak at, I think, some sort of charismatic renewal conference in California, he was just taken with the guy because Father Benedict, as we all know, he was kind of gruff and he spoke right, truth right between the eyes. And Stu loved that. He just loved it. And so he determined pretty quickly to go out and try out with the CFRs. He was in New York for a little bit. They sent him to Steubenville to get a master's in philosophy. But at the end of that, and he loved Steubenville. Stu loved his time at Steubenville. But at the end of that, Father Glenn Sedano said, I don't think you're going to make a good Franciscan. You're a little too set in your ways, Stu. But he did encourage him. He said, I think you still are called to be a priest. Why don't you go back to Helena, and why don't you go talk to Bishop Merlino and say you might want to be a seminarian for Helena. And so Stu did that pretty quickly. I was out in Oregon studying for the Diocese of Helena.
Intriguing, yeah, and having had the chances to encounter Father Groeschel, the late Father Groeschel, a great and founder of that order, the Franciscan Friars of the Renewal, who were present to us for our great Seek Conference a couple months ago here in Des Moines, where we gathered all the college students and everything else, and some Iowans and others have, considered that. Father, excuse me, I'm already ordaining him, but it was hard to let go. But Christopher Groh from the diocese is now with them in the novitiate also. So that charism of the Bronx surfaces again. We're going to take a quick break, right, Kelly?
That's right. We're going to take a quick break.
Sorry. Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by the Sarah Vocations Ministry, including the St. Sarah Club of Des Moines and the Sarah Club of Council Bluffs. Sarah is an apostolate of the Worldwide Catholic Church dedicated to fostering and supporting priesthood and religious vocations. Sarahans strive to accomplish their mission through prayer, fellowship, and service to the bishop, priests, sisters, and all in religious formation, and in doing so to increase their own holiness. Learn more at joinsarah.org, joinserra.org. Thank you, Sarahans, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Iowa Catholic Radio welcomes Scotty McCreery with special guest Allie Colleen. Give myself 5 more minutes. Sunday, July 24th at the Iowa Event Center Ballroom. I'm in between Friday night wild and quiet Sunday morning. Tickets and information available at celebratecountry.org. Sponsored by Ball Team.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Johnson. We are back with Father Bart Tolleson, a friend of Father Stu's, featured in the new movie Father Stu.
So again, a stalwart athlete, a wannabe actor, and then a seminarian and priest, Father Stu. Could you just share, is it accurate in the movie where his awareness of his illness occurred while in seminary, or is that something that emerged later?
No, that is accurate. Stu actually had a tumor on his hip, and they had replaced his hip. And he made a recovery, but he never fully got totally recovered. And eventually they did more tests, and they diagnosed him initially with what's called polymyositis, which is a lesser form of the disease he actually had. And then after further testing, when he was in fourth theology, so he got the definitive diagnosis when he was in this last year seminary that it was inclusion body myositis, and then that all of a sudden began to affect how they were going to think about ordaining him. Would he be able to be ordained? Was this a good idea? And the seminary had, which is their duty to recommend to the bishop, because of this disease, we just can't recommend him, and so it'll be your decision. And Bishop Thomas, who's now in Las Vegas, Bishop George Thomas,
yes.
Bishop Thomas, he prayed about it. And then he also, in the end, I think he got a dispensation even because of the disease for Stu. But he decided that God was calling him, and that he was going to ordain both of us. So it was a beautiful thing when Stu got that word.
Did you have to pause a little bit on your own path, or just?
I did. I actually got held up. It was kind of ironic. Switching, I was held up about 6 months. My classmates back in Texas had been ordained in the summer of 2007, and I was just getting ordained as a deacon in the summer of 2007. And so, but that was all right. I kind of expected a little delay, and it wasn't bad. And so we're just
what would friends do for each other, right? What would friends do for each other?
Well, I did. My prayer was that Stu would be ordained. That's what I was praying. And so I remember when he sent me a little note as soon as he talked to Bishop Thomas. He said, we're going to be ordained together. And, I'd already known it, but it was just so to hear those words from Stu and his excitement. It was good. I was very excited.
Yeah, so it wasn't maybe, and again, I'm not trying to deconstruct the movie in any way, but a little bit dramatic there that he, didn't quite know what he was walking into when he was to be ordained priest. I don't
think ordinations happen that way. The point is that obviously the poor people making the film, I don't know if they've been to an ordination. They're just trying to make it a high and dramatic.
So you weren't the priest consultant, trying to make it as authentic as possible. Did they reach out to you at all?
Not there.
No, okay.
They did. They did as they were starting to shoot the film because I think they realized we can get some more information because they didn't have every piece of information. But I think the point I wanted to defend the film a little bit. The point is this: Stu got ordained, and that's the point they were trying to make. And it was kind of a surprise. It wasn't the day of ordination, but it was a surprise that he was ordained, and that was a beautiful thing. And he was ordained a priest, and that's the point of that scene in the film.
Right. One of the things I find compelling in the movie is the moments when, both prior to priestly ordination, where he's preaching, both as a seminarian and things, very pithy, very down to earth and real. Is that reflective of his true spirit and style?
Yes. Yeah. You never know exactly where Stu was going to take a homily. I remember he did a homily once, and he sang the chorus of Marshmallow World. And I was like, what are you doing? And he didn't have a good singing voice either. And everyone was kind of looking, and then, he was basically telling everyone they were marshmallow people in the end. But anyway, he was going to challenge them. So that was how Stu did things. You just never knew, which I love. Because, he'd always have something new he'd come up with. It was fun.
Yeah. We're on the last stretch here. We're talking about the movie Father Stuart Long, Father Stu, Mark Wahlberg coming out on Holy Week with Father Bart Tolleson. And so the ministry there, and we're really in the last 10 seconds here, people flocked to him in the care facility.
They did.
Yeah.
I had a hard time getting in to see him, and he was my friend. And he even got mad at me for not coming to see him. And I said, Stu, I can't get through the line. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, come on, you know what's going on. So we kind of a deal. I used to get up really early and go wake him up, and we'd have our time together.
There you go.
So I could get in to see him.
Well, you've blessed us today. May you have a blessed Holy Week in your ministries, and very rich and diverse. Thank you, Father Bart.
Okay, thanks. Good to be here. Thank you so much.
You can hear Making It Personal with Bishop William Johnson every week on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.